Everyone, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to another Smith.ai webinar. I'm Maddy Martin. I'm the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai. We are a 24/7 virtual receptionist service. We handle calls, chats, texts, and Facebook messages for solo, small, and mid-sized businesses. Today's topic is Smith.ai and Redtail working together, basically how the two systems integrate, how they can solve a lot of the troubles that arise when you're trying to win and work clients efficiently, maximizing your productivity, your professionalism, your profitability. Those are all central to our agenda today. And joining me is Austin Johnson of Redtail. Austin, welcome. Share a few words about yourself.
Hey, Maddie. Thanks for having me today. I am Austin. I am a subject matter expert and trainer here at Redtail Technology. I've been training financial advisors for about 3 years now. So my role pretty much consists of spreading the good news of what Redtail can do for your practice. And so I get to do a little bit of that today, and really excited to talk about what Redtail can provide to our audience, as well as talk about the sweet new integration that we have.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And plenty of best practices and tips that we'll share with you today as well. So I'm going to share my screen and get into presentation mode. There we go. Now you know who we are. So we are going to today talk about outsourcing and why it's critical to win new clients, essential features of CRM software. So that's client relationship management software. And Austin will talk in depth about that and give a peek into how Redtail interprets what the most important features are and how they bring that to life to bring efficiency and effectiveness into your work for clients. I'll also talk about virtual receptionist services as an outsourcing solution that helps you maximize outcomes from marketing efforts, and then how these two solutions of ours basically coincide to integrate together to drive efficient workflows, to improve productivity, and to make sure that there are no balls dropped. There's a lot of improvements with automation and technology these days at a very affordable cost that allows you to run a solo, small, or mid-sized business at enterprise efficiency, basically. And then how to get started and run a better business. And really, like, the whole goal today, and please interrupt us if you have any questions, we'll keep an eye on the chat. I can see there are already a couple Q&A. The goal today is for you to take away not just how Smith.ai and Redtail work together, but also tidbits about running your business more smoothly, taking a step back from your business, working on it rather than in it, and just achieving better work-life balance. So this isn't just like quantitative effects, it's also qualitative. So we'll talk about all of these components together. And Austin, I think that you're up first to talk about CRM software.
Yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to kind of talk about what is a CRM, just in case there's anybody in this call who isn't familiar with it. Maddy, you mentioned it previously. A lot of the times people mistakenly think that CRM stands for client relationship management, but I'm on a mission to expand that definition. I think it should stand for contact relationship management. And the reason why is because your CRM is intended to be more than just your client. I like to say that the CRM is like the advisor's second brain. It's where we can go and tangibly put all of this information about our clients and our prospects and our leads and our center of influences and the other businesses that come in contact with our business. There's so many different relationships that exist on your day-to-day that you need a place to keep that information, not only for you to simply remember, but also for your team to have access to that, right? If we silo all of our information across our different brains in the office, nobody gets to collaborate. Nobody gets to really provide that great client experience for whoever is calling in or coming in for that meeting today. And so I really feel like a CRM is a essential piece to any advisory office, because again, it's a way of taking that information that we store in our memories, which can sometimes be fickle, and putting it somewhere tangible, not only for compliance reasons, but just to keep that good client experience going. And then what a CRM does on top of that is it puts all of our process and activity management and making sure that we are not only having the information available, but now that we have that information available, we're getting more work done because of it. And so Redtail has a lot of integrated tools into that client information that's going to help you to become more efficient. And so, Matt, if you go to the next slide here, I just wanted to talk about a couple of the different tools that Redtail provides. I like to tell our users that Redtail is like a toolbox that you bring to the job site, right? There's all kinds of different things that you can call upon throughout your day-to-day, depending on what the duty calls for, right? And so one of my favorite tools has to be our workflow tool. If you haven't had a chance to dive into workflows in Redtail yet, you're missing out. It's one of the great ways to basically eliminate that tribal knowledge that that exists within our practice. And you can kind of think of it as like series of checklists that helps us to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So if you have instances where, like, for example, in your onboarding process, or when a client calls in and needs to move some money around, if there's like things that are falling through the cracks, workflows are an awesome tool for that. We also have notes available in Redtail. That's where we can go ahead and put our information, again, for those conversations, those meeting notes that we're taking, put them somewhere tangible so everybody has access to them. I also love that Redtail plays nicely with others, right? That's our golden retriever, right? Loves to be a friendly, sociable thing. And that's kind of how Redtail operates too. We have tons of integration partners, Smith.ai included, where information is constantly being pulled into your CRM as well as pushed out of your CRM to your other softwares to create a more integrated experience across all of your softwares. And then again, we have lots of other integrated tools, like, for example, our opportunities, which is our sales pipeline. We have a really robust calendaring system that is integratable with both Google Calendar and Outlook. We have a seminar management tool that will help you to manage your seminars, which were admittedly a little bit more popular in a pre-COVID world, but they're making a comeback. And then finally, we have a really awesome mobile app. We've spent probably the better half of the last year really developing out our mobile app. We understand that our advisors are more mobile and they're on the go more than ever. And so we wanted to make sure that they get all of their CRM features inside the palm of their hand. And so these are, again, just a couple of the really cool features that Redtail can provide. But Maddy, if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do next is just kind of move into a demo. So that way we can kind of see the interface and interact with it. I'm just going to go over a couple of tools, particularly the ones that relate to the integration. So that way you can kind of get a feel of what we're talking about when we discuss the integration a little bit later. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen over here, and we are going to take a look at an instance of Redtail CRM. And so, Maddy, can you see my screen okay? We should share. All right, awesome. Great. So when you log into Redtail CRM, this is what you'll see. This is what we call our Today page. It lets you know about everything happening in your business today. So, for example, I can see up to the date my assets under management. I have a couple of tasks that I need to get done. If I scroll down a little bit further, I can see any birthdays that I might have or reviews that might need to be scheduled for my clients. And so this is your homepage, your dashboard of Redtail CRM. But what I want to do next is kind of give you a tour of what an actual contact record looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my friend here. Let's do Mr. Stanley Hudson here. And Stanley is a client of mine. And so I just typed his name here into the search contacts, and it brought up his contact record. So in the top left, we could see his picture. We can see where he works, what his job title is. On the right side here, we have what I call Rolodex data, right? How do I call him, email him? Where does he live? That kind of thing. We have some important contact details here at the bottom. Like I can see that he's a client, part of the A category. He was a referral from Michael Scott. Here's his birthday, his tax ID number. On the left side, I can go ahead and dig a little bit deeper into things like seeing Stanley's accounts, taking a look at his portfolio. I can look at any documents that I might have saved into Redtail that are related to Stanley. I could take a look at his notes, or if you want, you can also integrate Redtail with your email to be able to see all of your previous email communications with Stanley, all from these tabs here on the left. And again, we can go further and further, but I promise just a brief overview again related to the integration. So there is one real important aspect of the integration between Redtail and Smith.ai, and that is with the use of activities. So when a virtual receptionist receives a call regarding your business, an activity can be created from that call inside Redtail. And so just to give you an idea of what an activity is it's basically a calendared item for a contact, okay? To add one into Redtail, I would just navigate up here to this plus button here, choose activities here, and here I will be able to go ahead and enter this information. So for example, if I wanted to give Stanley a call back, I can go ahead and put that in there for the subject, choose the date and the time on when I'm going to call Stanley back. I know I'm going to call him on Friday, but I'm not sure what time. So I'm going to click this all day button here, which just basically gets rid of the start and end time, making it an all day activity. Doesn't mean I'm going to spend all day on the phone with Stanley. It's just going to happen sometime on Friday. I don't have a specific time yet. And then I'll, of course, label that as a phone call outgoing. And so what Redtail is going to do is it's going to save that information to my calendar. Again, if I mentioned earlier that our calendar systems are integrated with Google Calendar and Outlook. So if you prefer to use your calendaring software there, totally fine. That information will again be integrated into those other calendars as well, if you so wish. And then right here, again, I have that reminder set for Friday to go ahead and give Stanley that call back. So Maddy, that is just kind of a brief overview about what an activity is, what Redtail looks and feels like. Can you now talk about a little bit about how Smith.ai works and how that interacts with Redtail?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share my screen again if you don't mind. But that was super helpful. And I will also say for those, before I share my screen, for those of you who have asked questions about specifically the integration, yes, it does create an activity. And I understand like sometimes those things showing up on your calendar after the call has happened might not make a ton of sense if you have Outlook and Redtail integrated, for example. I saw a question come in about that. If you email support@Smith.ai, and I'm going to put that in the chat right now, then we can answer those questions about any modifications to the integration or any adjustments that you may wish. We take careful notes of those and we tally them and we try and prioritize the ones that are most common first, but absolutely let us know about that. And I will also relay that to the team here. So thanks for the feedback. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We did the demo. So yeah, nice job, Austin. And now just talking a little bit around like, well, what happens before you actually get those contacts into Redtail, or when they're contacts, but they're not yet clients, right? And that's really where Smith.ai comes in. When we think about, what does it what does it mean to be a qualified lead? Well, it means that you're not just someone who's visiting the website. You're someone who actually has expressed clear intent, submitted information that is relevant to the financial advising firm or practice. And then you go on to have a meeting, a consultation. Maybe there's an intake to be completed. There's a consult that occurs, and then there's a retainer or an agreement that you secure with that lead or now client. Now, the problem is that when you are off, calling Stanley for your stand-up meeting every Friday, you are not available to answer calls from new potential clients. When you are meeting with someone, when your head's down, reviewing and analyzing performance for your clients' portfolios, et cetera, the different opportunities that you have to engage or deepen your engagements with them for your existing clients for this next year. Here we are in January, we're thinking about goals and not just personal, but also business goals. One of the things is to be a better steward of your money, of your marketing, of your time. And what we see is that, consumers, and this has been the trend for many years now, the vast majority of them expect an instantaneous response, an immediate response when they call or email or chat or text in with an inquiry, whether that is a new client, whether it's an existing client, they expect an immediate response. Now, the problem is that when it's potential clients, they're often contacting multiple referred firms at the same time, multiple wealth advisors, et cetera. And the first person to respond to that inquiry is most likely by far to get the business. Now, how are you going to respond when you are talking to Stanley, when your head's down on work, when it's time to leave to go to your kid's soccer game, maybe more appropriate this time of the year, there's ski jumping or something that your kid's involved in, but you are not available to pick up the phone. And not to mention, it might be, spam, it might be, a sales call, it might be something that you really don't want to pick up. But either way, a new lead and a spam call both look like unknown numbers, right? I don't know about you, but my phone doesn't quite detect all of them. So what do? I have receptionists who answer my phone. When I have business clients at Smith.ai, our receptionists answer their phone. And what that does is it allows you to remain focused, but not miss out on new business. Because if they leave a voicemail, then they're going to go on to the next firm that was recommended, the next person who is going to be their financial advisor because they connect to them. And when you try and make that call back from that voicemail that was left, less than 50% of the time are they going to answer those calls. Why? Because they're getting spam calls too, because they're busy too. We're all in the same situation. So playing phone tag is like, one big like Three Stooges skit, right? So at the end of the day, the result is there's a lot of loss in marketing spend. There's a lot of time wasted, even with people who come through and have a consultation, even if they're insincere because they haven't been properly screened. So it's not just about answering, it's also about effectiveness in that answer. And we'll talk about that because it's really important that the data that gets into a system like Redtail has integrity, has the information that is important and relevant to your business. And that is where that frontline receptionist team comes into play. So really, before you even think about attracting, the right clients, you have to think, how much am I going to spend? What is a client worth to me? And can I make this a profitable endeavor so that you can budget in solutions like Smith.ai, like Redtail, et cetera? When you think about the inbound demand that's coming your way, you're active on social media, you've got advertisements, you're putting on seminars, maybe virtual ones, just like this. You have a flow of traffic that's coming through, and maybe you spent a little bit of money to get that traffic. It could be a billboard, it could be sponsored social media posts, whatever the case may be. You've got, let's say, an outlay of cash of $5,000. Now, if each retained client, very conservatively, is only worth $2,000 to you, and there are 10 of them, that's $20,000. You can see that there's significant drop off, though, from all the people who visited your site from, let's say, the social media ad to those who actually clicked on the seminar landing page, to those who filled out the seminar, to those who had a consultation after the seminar, and then to those who actually retained you and started paying you for your services. Now, as a result, we have to think very carefully about how we're applying marketing funds, how we're applying other budget to maximize the opportunities that exist within this funnel. And I will say there is a worksheet here in the slides that you have access to, so you can fill this out yourself. The most important thing is, where do you have the most leverage? Do you have the most leverage to control master Google and say, send more traffic my way? Depends on the day. You can chip away at that over time. Yes, eventually, if you work hard at SEO, you'll get more traffic. But where immediately can you make a mark? When it comes to the leads that you're capturing from your website, when it comes to the qualified opportunities that come out of those leads, that's where you can make the impact. So think about, as a small business owner, maybe you're solo, what can I do to get more out of my existing marketing spend? I'm not going to spend a dime more. I have enough leads, let's just say. How do I turn more web traffic, more social media followers, more referrals into actual meaningful business? And the way to do so is to convert right at the second, third tier of that funnel that I showed you, the qualified leads and the intake. Before you get to the consult, because you want to have a meaningful consult, you're thinking about, how do I get more qualified leads? So I'm going to talk about a couple strategies here to make sure that you don't miss out on opportunities, that you don't miss out on an engagement that could happen on your website to get the contact information that you need, and to bring more qualified leads into a conversation with you. Let's say that it's a video call, it's a phone call, maybe you're doing in-person meetings, it's a consultation, because until that consultation, you are not unlocking that business growth. So right in the middle there, that's what you can control, and that's what Smith.ai helps with. So keep in mind here that just as Austin was saying, it's not just about clients or potential clients. Everything that I'm sharing is also applicable to the client experience in addition to attracting and converting more leads. So think about this percent that actually applies to both the lead end and the client end. 67% is the same number of both clients, so potential clients who base their decision to hire on a firm, on a wealth advisor's responsiveness to their initial call or email. So 2 out of 3 people are saying, if you pick up the phone, I'm probably going to hire you just because you picked up, right? So all that marketing that you're doing, okay, maybe it's very valuable. And then all of the work is for naught if you don't actually pick up. You could have the best billboard on the fastest, most busy highway in your city, but if you don't pick up the phone, it's a lot of money wasted because they're going to Google and seeing who's next on the list, right? Now, in terms of share of wallet, your clients who receive excellent service on average, 2 out of 3 of them are going to spend 14% more. That's 14% that you didn't have to spend any money to get. There's no margin lost on that. That is basically pure profit, right? So to me, this is extremely powerful that one change with a single solution can actually impact your conversion rate, bringing in new clients, and then also the recurring revenue, the value, the lifetime value of your existing clients who continue to get responsive, helpful service. So what are a couple of things that you can control here? First of all, this might seem very basic, but your phone system is the number one front line that you have to make sure works properly. I cannot tell you how many small businesses I have talked to over the course of the last 5 years that I have had the pleasure of working in this company, and they don't check if their phones are working. And it happens. There's latency, there are disconnects. We see now so more than ever. There are maybe attacks on the underlying technology. And there are also companies that are very spread thin right now, just like many others in other industries affected by COVID. Regardless, even before COVID, there is latency to the degree that some of these VoIP phone systems will actually ring 6, 7, 8 times before you even hear that the phone is ringing, which means I could be calling to talk to you about financial advising and I hear 8 rings. And you don't hear a single ring until I'm about ready to hang up. And guess what? I already hung up. So that latency is hugely problematic. And if you don't test your own business phone line every, let's say, week or month at the worst, then you don't know, am I accidentally losing potential clients who can't connect with me? Another reason why I'll talk about later, it's important to also open up other channels. If you have a social media page, if you have a phone number, people are going to text you. If you have a social media page, people are going to message you. And if you have Google My Business, people are going to send you messages through there. Know how, when, and where to get in touch with people and check those channels, because phone cannot be your only lifeline as well. If you go to this blog post, actually, that's linked here, in the slide deck that I shared, there's a template to actually email and reach out to your phone provider. If you do call and you find that there's latency, there's low quality, you have trouble hearing the person on the other end, we do have a solution for you to reach out to them before you have to switch providers, which isn't as intimidating as you might think. So not super scary. Most of them cost the same these days anyways, because there's 40 different providers that you can choose from. Now, one of the other things when we're talking about the actual phone system and process itself, if you are accepting calls, let's say they're coming through, but maybe you're not able to get that consultation scheduled on that first call, you play a little bit of phone tag. If you're doing it on your own, I guarantee you you're playing less phone tag than you probably should be, because no one has time to make 6, 7, 8 calls to every single potential lead, right? Especially at the cadence that you probably should be doing so, which is not, once every 6 months, it's with a more rapid fire. So what we can see from the data, and this is actually from a company called Lead Docket, which serves the legal industry, but this is very relevant for all industries, so I like to highlight it here. there are 6 attempts before you have over 90% confidence that you have exhausted the attempts with that lead, and there's nothing really more to get from that conversation. Meaning, if they haven't talked to you by the 6th call attempt, then maybe you're texting and emailing as well. They're probably not going to connect with you, and you can move on. Now, how many of us are actually only calling once or twice, right? Maybe you call 3 times. It really is important that that is outsourced to a service who can do that for you with a consistent cadence so that you maximize the conversion potential of every lead who has come your way. Now, there are a few best practices here if you are considering or are already forwarding calls to Smith.ai. A few things to call out here, because I'm not just going to read all the words on the screen to you. One is caller ID is absolutely your friend. Smith.ai can call and show your caller ID when we make calls for you outbound. That's really important to make sure that the client recognizes that number. I'm sure that they have your number in their phone. That means that this is the business they're expecting. They're going to pick up more likely, better than that 47% that I mentioned. And that helps with that connection rate. It helps reduce the number of outbound calls you have to make. Also, make sure that your ring limit is set to 60 seconds, because that means you're not going to have your phone system's default voicemail kick in before, if there is any latency or delay, like if you have a call rail or call tracking put into your phone system, there might be 2 or 3 rings that gets consumed, so to speak, by that process. If you don't have 60 seconds, then sometimes you'll find that the call doesn't get over to Smith.ai. Now, the vast majority of the time, it's getting over in 1 ring. So those are best practices just to check on later when you're investigating your phone system. Now, when we think about the funnel, first I showed it to you vertically, now I'm showing it to you horizontally. We know that there is sort of this generation period and then capture and qualification period for the leads. So first you've got the lead sources, they're coming in from referrals. Hopefully that's very efficient, very high quality. Review sites absolutely are efficient and high quality. Maybe local listing sites, paid search, social media, etc. They're going to be contacting you through every available method. And then the response methods can be either you, someone on your staff, or someone who is outsourced, or perhaps even a chat bot or something that is automatically responding to leads in a systematic fashion. The next most important thing, and we see about 60% of consultations are not actually converting into like retained clients, paying clients, because they're not qualified or screened properly, which means you're having a consultation scheduled, maybe by an answering service, maybe by your staff, maybe someone messages you on Facebook and you say, sure, let's talk at 1 p.m. today. Whatever the case may be, if you're not asking qualifying questions, and I'll get into some examples, then you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot, because imagine that spot, just like the doctor's office, was taken up by someone else who's more qualified. If you aren't already there, you should be thinking about that level of lead volume where your time is so limited that you only have time for 3 consultations in a day. The rest of the time is spent doing work for clients, doing networking, whatever it is, spending time with your family. And as a result, you need to make sure that every single consultation is well qualified, that there's going to be a very high conversion rate, over 50%. To paying client, right? Not the other way around. Once you gather the information, you may need to do some follow-up, or they may be ready to actually convert right away and become a new client. Obviously, e-signature tools and things like that are going to be very helpful to you. But when we think about the intake process, I think it's really important that we look at, all right, what are the financial details, case or matter or concern details if they're coming to you for a particular concern? What is the value of this business? What is the expected time to close on this business? And are they amenable to, paying you not by snail mail check, but actually with a credit card, automated online payments, etc. So gather not just demographic information, but also gather information that is going to be relevant to inform how is that consultation going to go, and do you even want to schedule a consultation? You might only work with people who have a certain level of assets. You might only work with people who are referrals. Otherwise, you're not accepting new clients, whatever the case may be. And obviously, location may matter if you're, working with people who are close by. It's really important that you capture the information that A, you're going to have a consultation that's pretty likely to convert. B, that you can thank your referral partners, your friends, and C, you have an idea of how to best prepare for that consultation to increase your odds of winning this new client, right? Those are the three main factors here. Now, what I'm showing is a Google form, and through Zapier, Redtail can integrate with a Google form, but Smith.ai can also, our receptionist can complete this form over the phone. It can be completed through a website chat. It can be completed when you have our text or Facebook Messenger integration with our chat system. And what that means is that we are gathering this information, we're putting it into this form, and you don't have to have the information scattered across, the internet. It's all in one place, and then it ends up in Redtail, which is super powerful, right? Austin, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about this particular slide.
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute button there. Yeah, so Zapier, another one of Redtail's integration partners. This is a fun thing that we teach for our advisors as well, as a way to not have to go through that manual process of having to put the information inside that add contact screen in Redtail. This could be something that you can even do forward facing, like having the virtual assistant email it out to this person to put in their own information, or better yet, like Maddy was saying, let's just fill it out right there on the phone call. Why wait? Why wait for that information to come back to us? Let's eliminate that delay period by just having that virtual assistant filling it out for us right there on the phone call.
Totally. And, another thing that you can do is you can leverage sort of the SMS and email follow-up that we offer. And if we're not able to, let's say that we make an outbound call to someone who filled out your website form. And your website form might have like 3 or 4 fields. It might ask for your name, your phone number, and your email, right? And maybe sense of urgency, or did you get referred, or web search, whatever. 4 to 5 questions at the most. And then we're going to make an outbound call and say, thanks so much for contacting, advisor Joe. We'd love to, see if this is the right fit for you and set up a consultation if so, and then run through, the extra questions that we need to gather information for. If they say, I don't have time to go through these questions with you right now, submit it as much information as you're able to gather. And then you could say, let me send that form via text or via email or both. And you can fill it out on your own time. And they're going to say, thank you so much. They're going to get it immediately after the call ends. They fill it out. And then you might actually have an automation, or you might have Smith.ai call again and say, we got your form. Now we'd like to schedule that consultation for you. Or you might have to say, we got the form, and unfortunately, this doesn't seem like it's the right fit, but here's another solution that you might consider, right? They might have, very low assets at this point, and you're not accepting them as a client, but there's, some solution that you might recommend. They think, wow, like what amazing service that is, that I'm not just back to the drawing board. And when they talk to their other friend who actually might have assets at a level that you'd work with, that friend got referred by a non-client just because you had a really good experience. Okay, so sort of open up your worldview in a little bit. If you're not already doing that, if you might feel like dismissive towards people who aren't great potential clients, make sure that your workflow accommodates them, because you never know who the next referral partner is going to be. Now, similarly, your calendaring system, and there was a question about Outlook and Redtail. Your calendaring system is absolutely integral to both Redtail and to Smith.ai. So the way that we look at it is further efficiency. If we're on the phone with a potential client for you, and we have to say, I've got your information, you'll be receiving, a calendar invite as soon as Joe gets around to it, then, you're letting that person just wait and wonder, versus having access to a tool like Calendly, which integrates with both Google and Outlook, so that without logging into any system, any of our receptionists can schedule that next call for you. just seeing when you're available, including any buffer time when you don't want meetings at 10 or 11 a.m. You only want them at 2 and 3 p.m. Great. We can use whatever calendaring solution you've got. Calendly actually has like a free plan, so it's not even an extra cost for you. And you just share that link with Smith.ai and we're booking that. And when you get off the phone, that person knows that they have a secured appointment. That is the point at which they stop searching. Now they have the peace of mind that they're going to be working hopefully with you. They've been asked relevant questions by that receptionist, and you have the information from that intake form so that you can come into that consultation acting as if basically the receptionist is right next to you in the office and shared all the information from that call, but much more efficiently, right? So just as sort of a side note here, chat, when I was talking about the funnel before, this is probably the #1 hack that we see our clients and small business owners make, and not just for sort of the younger generation. I have to tell you, my father is probably on Facebook more than I am, but he is also very savvy when it comes to multitasking and web chat, whether you're at work, because we know a lot of the clients are at work, they're busy, they're building their wealth. They are much more likely to get in contact with a business that has website chat and not wait to fill out that form and have someone get back to you, because you know your competition's not all rapidly having receptionist teams get back to their potential clients, or step away from the desk for 20 minutes, put your coat on, go outside, have a private phone call, because these are sensitive personal matters that you don't want your coworkers to overhear in your office or even in your house, frankly, if you're working from home. A lot of my friends, a lot of people who are across the world these days are now moving to home offices. Their kids are at home. They're not necessarily with the same school schedule. And their, other family members might be at home. It might not be possible or reasonable to have a conversation about financial matters in front of other household members, right? So it's really important that you have silent communication channels like chat, text, Facebook, etc., that allow you to converse, not just in English. We also have English and Spanish supported here. And what we see is so powerful. One new chat lead for every 4 calls. So think about this week so far. If you've already had 4 calls, there would be another 5th lead for you that is just from chat with no extra marketing spend, just because you opened up that channel and you see the little widget on the screen that says chat with us. This actually, just by being present, allows new people to contact you who don't see a search on your website, don't want to spend time navigating around. There is a huge lift in the engagement rate of website visitors who are contacting you. And the really powerful thing is that you've actually got a name and email and optionally a phone number before the chat even begins. So a couple of these examples here are for law firms, but you can translate for your own business. Obviously, the goal here is to schedule a consultation. Maybe there's some intake questions that are completed at the same time, and there can even be drop-down selections. So you're not just taking free text, you actually have structured data that's coming in from the chat. The entire chat transcript is available to you before a consultation. And that basically means that you are super well informed before you have this consultation. You didn't have to incur a phone call, and have a very efficient way of capturing and then storing information. Now, this doesn't yet integrate with Redtail, but that is something that we are looking into. So calls right now are going through, chats not yet, but very easy to get those chat transcripts into Redtail, even perhaps through Zapier, just to have that connection made. It could be a note, etc. If you need help with that, just ask. We do have a Zapier app that could pass chat data through to you. Now, how do you sort of get started with this? Well, think about what is billable time. What is like material time that you are either paid for or could charge for clients? What does leadership for your business look like? What's neither but necessary? Maybe it's networking, maybe it's strategic planning, whatever it is, or maybe it's really none of the above. And can you identify things that, all right, maybe some you have to continue doing yourself, things you will streamline, things you will automate, and things you will outsource, right? So if we think about sort of the Eisenhower decision matrix, that quadrant of, do, delegate, et cetera, what you want to be, outsourcing are client check-ins, appointment reminders, lead qualification, following up on payments or bounce credit cards, late bills, et cetera. Nobody who has a close personal relationship with their clients wants to call and remind them that they haven't paid their bill yet. It's quite uncomfortable. That's most easily outsourced. You don't necessarily want to automate that. Sure, a couple email reminders for a late bill, fill out this form are acceptable, but having a personal touch, especially for the type of work that you're in, is expected. Then the data entry, the integration where calls are coming into Redtail, and we'll show that, are most easily automated. Nurture follow-up emails, those can be automated and interspersed with phone calls at the same time. So think about, what actually makes sense to automate versus outsource without losing that personal touch and also having a lot of speed and efficiency there. Pick 2-3 to do in the next 30 to 60 days. It's the new year when we're doing this right now. So it's perfect time to talk about setting goals and making changes to your business that strengthen both qualitatively and quantitatively your outlook. And then wait a couple months to restabilize. So you might find you have a list of 20 things to do. You don't want to be in a position where you have to, sort through all the changes that you made and try and figure out what had the meaningful impact. And then think about, what did you earn? What was the revenue impact? What was your lead conversion rate? And then also things like, how is your work-life balance? How are your stress levels? How is your sleep quality, et cetera? So with that in mind, if you want to connect Smith.ai and our receptionists to Redtail, it's quite simple. If you already have both accounts, then you would go into Smith.ai, you would just enter your username and password and connect by clicking that button. And that's it. Your accounts are linked. You will then see the activities added and contacts added in Redtail. And you'll see that in the activity history for that contact who was created. I'll note that there is a help doc here move the screen, that goes into more detail if you want steps in photos. And then obviously, as Austin mentioned, you'll see under activities where this call came in, and you'll see that it came from Smith. So it's not just, that person. It's actually, you can see that it was a Smith.ai call, and then the contacts that were linked, that it was a phone call. There might even be 2 contacts that show up for that, and the category being customer service. Now, if you want to make changes to that activity, then you can do so with the drop-down menu that you typically see. And you'll also obviously see that contact. That Austin's example is much better than John Doe, much prefers Stanley. And obviously, the activity is visible in here as well. There was a question about if it could be brought into the notes section. That's a note that I will take back to our team to see if that's something that we can potentially customize. I appreciate the request there. For right now, it is showing up as an activity, and you might find that you want it to coincide with the consultation that was scheduled. So you have those notes really handy, could overlap it on your calendar with the consultation if you want to move it. The only thing we don't recommend is we don't recommend deleting it. But it's basically just a timestamp rather than a calendar invitation.
Maddy, if I could add to this too.
Yeah.
One thing that I like about the way that the integration comes in as activities is because activities mean action, right? When we have an activity on our calendar, it means that there's something that we need to do. If we have something that comes in as a note, that's more so a past item, right? It's already kind of taken care of. But this integration does is by coming in as an activity, it reminds me that, oh yeah, I need to actually review that call. What was discussed between that receptionist and that potential prospect or my client? And so therefore I can go ahead and review that. And then remember also that when we have a completed activity, that becomes a note. So going in and marking off that activity, even if you don't want to review it, but just simply just doing the complete button there, or even doing it in bulk and completing those activities, will go ahead and make those activities into notes. And so I understand that, sometimes we want to put those into that notes section because, well, there's not really much that we have to do. But I think the activity here is actually pretty strategic. And that is that it reminds us that we should be reviewing these calls, these interactions that are happening between this virtual receptionist and our clients and or prospects.
Oh, that's an excellent point. All right. Well, thank you, Austin, for saying that, because that is 100% what we will recommend. So I appreciate the clarity there. Now, getting started, I think, Austin, you were going to talk a little bit about, getting started with Redtail and how to get a demo.
Yeah, definitely, Maddy. Actually, I wanted to just touch on a point that occurred to me as you were going through. You listed a ton of really cool reasons why you should consider using and implementing Smith.ai into your practice. One that it just occurred to me as you were going along was I'm just thinking about the advisors day to day. And so I get the privilege of working with lots of different advisory offices and really kind of getting to see the skeleton of their practice and just seeing how many tasks and different hats that they have to put on throughout the day. I mean, I'm talking about 30, 40, 50, 60 different things that they got to keep in touch with and keep track of on a daily basis. And I know that with an advisor, there is a balance between more customer service oriented things like responding to emails and answering phone calls and working with clients in person. But there's also that deeper level work too that advisors find themselves having to do, like analyzing investments or writing a financial plan or crafting up that newsletter that's going to attract more business for my company. And those things, they require a deeper level of thinking, right? And they require sort of an undistracted focus when working on those items. And if we have a phone sitting next to us that could be ringing at any time, or we hear that phone ringing and we're right in the middle of that financial plan, then we have to make a decision and we have to go, am I going to answer that? Am I going to interrupt this deep level of thinking to go address whatever is on the other side of that phone call, whether that's a new prospect, a client, or like you mentioned, Maddy, a spam call, right? Those pesky spam calls asking about our extended auto warranty, right? And so I think a really cool value add that Smith.ai can do that is I no longer have to interrupt what I'm working on, whether that's writing a financial plan or, like you mentioned, Maddy, my kid's soccer game, right? Being attentive and in the moment with what it is that's in front of me without having to worry, should I answer that or should I not answer that? I can go ahead and finish what I'm working on, knowing that Smith.ai is going to give that customer, that client of mine, a good experience, regardless of whether I answer the phone or not. So again, that was just something that occurred to me. And I really felt like I wanted to add that in there as a good reason on why you can use Smith.ai and integrate that with Redtail to create a good client experience. So
I love that.
as you were mentioning, the previous slide here, this is just to show our customer satisfaction rating. This comes from a industry survey. It's called the T3 Advisor Software Survey, where we interview, sorry, not we, this is a private company that they interview different RIAs and broker dealers, advisors, and just ask them about what softwares are you using and are you happy with those softwares? And so I mentioned at the beginning of the call, why CRM? Why should you have a CRM? What can Redtail provide you as really cool features? But if you're wondering, why should I use Redtail versus the competition? The reason is our customer service. Redtail is specifically designed to be for a financial advisor. It's not one of those CRM companies where you have this really cool technology, but you have to learn how to be a computer scientist so that way you can Mod Podge this into getting it to what you do. Redtail is an out-of-the-box solution that comes with excellent support. So whether that's having an 800 number that you can go ahead and dial into, or receiving a email response within an hour of the question that you have, or better yet, you can even talk with me one-on-one on a Zoom call like we're doing right now, where I can teach and show you how to use your CRM better. We call our customers our raving fans, and because that's our goals, we want to make you so in love with our software that you want to go and tell your friends all about it because you were just so satisfied with that. And the proof is there in the market share, and the proof is in there in that advisor rating. So again, just some statistics that I wanted to show you. If you're wondering, hey, what CRM should I be using? Well, if you want a good, easy to use CRM with excellent support, Redtail is the best choice for you. And if you're interested in getting started, you want to learn a little bit about our software, you want to kick the tires before you sign up, feel free to sign up for a free trial. I have a slide there with the image there to sign up with a free trial. That's our website. It's redtailtechnology.com. Just click on that blue free trial button. This will give you a full version of Redtail. We don't hold anything back. You get full unrestricted access for 30 days to go ahead and implement your CRM. We also offer free data migration. So if you're already using an existing CRM full of notes and contacts and you are worried about losing that information, don't worry. Once you activate that subscription, you'll get in contact with our welcome team who will help you to move those data points from your previous CRM into your new one. You also get access to our support teams and our training teams during the trial period. So if you'd like to talk with a sales representative or even a trainer like myself to learn how to use that software more, we're more than happy to help you with learning how to use Redtail, regardless if you're in the trial period or a paying user.
Awesome, Austin. I bet you're going to get a lot of requests for you personally. I know that I would, but yeah, absolutely. I just put the link to Redtail Technology in the chat for anyone who's interested. And just to echo that support that Austin was emphasizing there, Smith.ai absolutely takes that white glove approach too. And that is what we believe is the standard. It is not above and beyond. That is what you should expect as a business owner, to have the ability to implement the solutions that you paid for easily and effortlessly in partnership with the company that you are paying to do so once those services are in place. So our plan started at a very affordable $240 a month. Obviously, it's January 2022 when I am presenting this. If you watch it way in the future, it might have changed, but we started just 30 calls a month. On the chat side, we actually have a $0 plan where you pay per chat, or you could pay upfront from $140 a month. So we're talking about very relatively small costs that are affordable to you. If you think of just one client closing in that month, it way more than pays for itself, right? So we also include free CRM or Zapier integration. Now, obviously, that's going to be Redtail here. You could also use Zapier integration for a number of other systems that might be relevant for you, but probably unlikely because Redtail is already connecting that for you. So leverage that free CRM integration with Redtail, and then the rest should follow in their system. You also always get free blocking of spam, sales, wrong number calls, and we are live staffed 24/7, 365. That means, yes, New Year's holiday, we were working, we're answering calls because, man, those New Year's resolutions makes the phone ring. So we do have overage, which is easy. You're not automatically bumped up into the next plan and charged for that next tier. You just pay per call that goes over your monthly quota. So if you have a new marketing campaign, you got 50 calls instead of 30, then you'll only pay for those extra 20 calls on the starter plan. If that continues, you might want to bump it up to the basic plan. And as your business grows, you can go to the pro plan and beyond. So we absolutely can handle more than 150 calls a month, but these are geared towards a small business owner. Now, what we also do is we have payments, appointments, intake forms, email and SMS follow-up, as I mentioned, dedicated Spanish lines, and you can even add more integrations if you pay a small fee per month, which is totally optional. So the reason that we have these as add-ons that are optional is so that you can completely customize your plan and you only pay for what you need. Most popular are appointment booking and intake form completion, accepting payments, especially for those clients of ours who charge for consultations. They would, and obviously we work with many industries, they would find that particularly useful. Helps with show up rates for consultations too, to have a little bit of skin in the game, if that is obviously allowed in your business. Now getting started, we typically have an introductory call. You'll speak to a member of our team. We'll talk about what are your goals. Are you trying to reduce spam calls? Are you trying to answer every call? Are you trying to not be bothered at dinner time or when you're watching, your favorite show at night, playing with your kids with a work interrupted phone call, right? It really depends on if you want to forward all calls to us or only overflow. We can handle your overflow calls if you want to have the option to try and answer it first. So during the day, if you are available, you can pick it up. Or if you're in a meeting with Mr. Stanley Hudson, then we can pick it up for you after a ring or two. So you can easily reduce your bill that way. You send your calls and chats to us. We can implement chat on your website, completely white glove, no code needed. We will install it for you. And we'll even set up those cadences and sequence questions and scripts that are needed to make sure that chat flows really as smoothly as any phone call might. And then you have a 14-day money back guarantee. So you're never risking your funds. You always have $1,000 over 14 days that you're covered with trying Smith.ai. Now you also have $100 off with code Redtail, and that is something that you can provide to the first person that you talk to if you schedule a consultation. I did put that consultation link with Calendly in the chat, or just visit Smith.ai or give us a call and see how we hear. If you like how we hear on the phone, then you can go ahead and schedule right with that person. And feel free to read our reviews online. I honestly think that the best way to understand what we're doing is to hear from other business owners like you, Austin. You know, you were just talking about the raving fans that you have at Redtail. I couldn't agree with you more. The thing that we always like to emphasize is that our clients will say, I can't believe that I was running a business without Smith.ai. And Austin, I'm sure you hear the exact same thing. Once you start, you can't stop. And it's a lot better for you than Pringles. So I would encourage you to reach out with any questions. And obviously, we are here for you with a lot of great content, not just this webinar, but we have a free ebook for you. I will right click on this and put it in the chat so you have that handy. And oops. Go back a slide. And obviously the impacts here from both Smith.ai and Redtail are pretty vast, right? You're going to win more clients, going to boost your marketing results. You're going to extend your hours and capacity. Also through Redtail's technology, your capacity to be more efficient and productive, improve client happiness and retention, and reduce interruptions so that you have the decision, you have the control to focus on what you want during the day, and you're not just beholden to that ringing phone. So we hope that you will set up this integration. We've received great feedback so far, and one from Matthew. Thank you so much for your kind words from our early adopters. Any questions, please contact our teams. My personal email is here. You can also contact us at support@smith.ai. And then obviously the Redtail sales team is available at sales@redtailtechnology.com. All right, Austin, any last words?
No, that was fun. We were definitely very excited to have a great integration partner like you guys at Smith.ai, and excited to grow this integration and really create that great virtual assistant, or sorry, receptionist experience for our users. So happy to have you aboard, and excited to see where this relationship takes us.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Austin. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.